Hey guys, it's Timmy, and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Tuesday, and we're here talking NXT. I thought we would review the first NXT on the CW. We're going to actually do this week and next week's show, because my thought process was they're pumping these up like they're big shows. Tonight's NXT on the CW was really good, and so I was like, you know what? We're going to review this show, and we'll review next week's show. The cool thing we're going to have with next week's show is we're going to have a live perspective, because Luke, who you see right over here, is actually going to be at next week's NXT. So he's going to pop in early on at the beginning of next week's NXT review and give us a little live perspective, give us a couple minutes of what it was like to be there live. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't there tonight in Chicago, so I doubt you're going to get free food next week.
Randy, you want to buy us some free pizza?
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, CM Punk actually paid for free pizza to be handed out to the fans leaving the building after tonight's NXT. So that's really cool. The other thing I don't know is, when are they filming Level Up? Because usually Level Up gets filmed after NXT in the Performance Center.
I thought they were canceling that.
I heard they were keeping Level Up. I don't know. Maybe they're going to cancel. I don't know. But that's a good question to think, because also word came out 2 days ago maybe that they took down the set at the Performance Center. We don't know if they're going to put it back up and they're just doing like refurbishments to it or changing it up a little bit. We do know that they took down the set at the Performance Center that they've been using. So it's not like while they're on the road this week and next week, they just film it there. I don't know. And I didn't hear anything coming out of tonight's show that stated that they filmed anything for Level Up. So we'll see when Friday comes. And maybe we don't know, and they like backlogged it and filmed a bunch of extra stuff the last couple of weeks. That's something they could have done as well. And so, because all Level Up is just matches and whatnot. So we'll see how that all goes. But here's the question. Who was actually able to watch NXT on the CW proper? Now, I know a lot of people watched NXT on the CW tonight not proper. What do I mean by proper? So there's an issue with the CW. CW being a local broadcast network. CW being an affiliate network. Now, when you look at ABC and NBC and Fox and CBS, what you don't understand here is, yes, ABC is owned by Disney, Fox is owned by Fox, CBS is owned by Paramount, and NBC is owned by NBC Universal. CW is now owned by Nexstar. Nexstar, how do I say this? Gets affiliates, and all basically local channels do this. You have affiliates in different markets. So it's like where I used to live in California, both Fox and the CW were owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. They were ran by a Sinclair Broadcasting affiliate, which used to own Ring of Honor. So that's why we would actually get Ring of Honor on CW and Fox back in Fresno, California. Anyways, the issue is, and there's a few issues here. The issue is, not every city and every market has a CW affiliate. So there's going to be some places that just doesn't have CW at all, whether that is with your antenna or your cable provider. Then there's your other issue. Not all cable providers have deals with the local CW, like where Luke is from. Luke's local area has a local CW network, but he has YouTube TV, and YouTube TV does not have a deal with his local CW affiliate. So Luke had to find other means to watch the show. Now here's the third issue. Because this is, yes, it is a quote-unquote sport, but because it is sports entertainment, they want that primetime TV rating. And because they got that primetime TV rating, this show is airing 8 p.m. 7 Central, or 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific, with no live streaming component from the CW, with Fox and with USA Network. They have a streaming component that if you log into their app with the actual, your like cable provider, YouTube TV, Cox, Xfinity, or so forth, you can then use their app or use their website to watch live if you're on the West Coast. If you're on the West Coast, 5 o'clock, you're watching Raw. You're watching SmackDown. CW will not be airing live on their app or on their website. We learned this 2 weeks ago with NASCAR. They are not airing live, which is weird because they air Live Golf live on their website and their app. But regardless, you go on their website, it does this for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which just started with CW 2 weeks ago, and now it says this with NXT. Debuts on, it says, new episodes on Tuesdays, stream it the next day. So that's another big issue, is that West Coast people don't actually now have a quote-unquote legal way to actually watch NXT live. They did when it was on USA Network, the USA Network app. Fox gave us that for SmackDown with the Fox app. They let you watch live through the app. Now it's just weird. Not really weird because, again, wrestling's always, they want wrestling. Wrestling wants to be considered sport, but then at the same time, it's more of a TV product. And so it's going to air at that 8 o'clock time slot, no matter where you are in the country. It's 8 o'clock where you live, 8 o'clock where you live, or 7 Central. So that is another big issue that we have to look at with the ratings. Because now I ask you guys, and I'll ask Luke this as well. How many people that live on the West Coast, I guess you could say, are going to watch this show live later at 8 p.m. when the rest of the country has already seen it? Are you going to really every single week stay off of social media and not have anything spoiled for you? Or are you going to say, I don't care about the spoilers, I'm still going to watch every week? If you're someone that, I want to say lives on Twitter, Luke, but if you're someone that just throughout your day and evening is on Twitter and you'll see tweets about Raw and SmackDown and NXT and this and that, and take this as someone that's not watching it as a reviewer. If you're just randomly getting on Twitter and see all these clips from NXT and you go, man, NXT's over and I still can't even watch for another hour. Are you really, after knowing all the results and seeing clips, going to go and sit for 2 hours and watch it later? Would you?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah, if you've already had it spoiled for you on social media, would you still go back and watch the whole show later live?
Probably not. I would only watch the clips and stuff on YouTube.
Exactly. So that's going to be another issue that could hurt the ratings here. Now, we do know that throughout the entire, I'm trying to think how to word this, throughout all of 2024, only one broadcast has done over 1 million views for the CW network, and that was the People's Critics' Choice Awards or something like that. Everything else has done 900,000 plus and lower. I know we still don't have the rating for last Saturday's NASCAR race, but the week before that, the first NASCAR race on the CW was a Friday night race from Bristol, Tennessee, and it did 6,000 viewers. That was a Friday night, which Friday night's not the best night for television. So I want to know what last Saturday's race from Kansas did, and then compare that to tonight's NXT and see how the new programming and new stuff for CW is going to go. Because, like I said, they've brought in NXT and they've brought in NASCAR. So now we got to see if those help the CW. But that's just my little rant on the CW. Not airing it on their app. Not letting people on the West Coast actually watch live legally. So, but overall, I thought this was a fantastic show. I thought this show was great. The only qualm production-wise was it felt like I was watching a Peacock PLE where they randomly just cut for commercial at some point. Because going into commercials half the time, they didn't do their normal like setup for a commercial. And then like, especially with the street fight, they came back from a commercial and they're just in the middle of moves and like Zachary Wentz is climbing the top rope and it's like, oh, well, that was kind of just felt like they came back abruptly. But overall, I thought the show was great. What'd you think of tonight's NXT in the first episode on the CW?
The show was pretty good. I liked it. A lot of commercials. I mean, I kind of missed the beginning part because I had to figure out a way to watch the show because I didn't have the CW network on YouTube TV.
Well, it's not even, yeah, right. Because Yeah, we had to find Luke other means, which I eventually was like, you know what? I'm seeing too many people tweet they can't watch it right now. So I gave everybody them other means. I helped everybody out. Hopefully, I helped some more people out. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good show. Production-wise, it was really good. And here's one thing that I was a little bit shocked by. So I've been watching CW. Well, I've watched CW for a long time because I watched Smallville on the CW and Reba back in the day on the CW. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been watching NASCAR on the CW. And for some reason, the NASCAR races have not been the best quality as far as like the look of the production for some reason, which is weird. It says you're airing it at 1080p, but it's really coming in at 720. And I was told, well, that's a decision by your local CW. Well, tonight's NXT, the broadcast looked perfect. So I have no qualms with that. So I don't know if maybe the local CW here changed things up or whatnot, but broadcast looked fine. Looked perfect. Looked 1080p. And yeah. So overall, I think it was a positive. We'll see. No, next week, it's a smaller building than they were in for Chicago, right? I don't know if you know the building or not. It's a smaller building?
Yes, it's a smaller building.
Okay. Yeah. So it's going to look better than the Performance Center, of course, but it's not. I don't know if it's going to look as big and packed as this week's show, because this week's show from Chicago was, they did it right. They did it right. They did it great. It was shot well. Everything was, I loved it. I thought production-wise, you want a big hit on the first episode? I think you did it. I think you did it, other than the one faux pas, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, of people not being able to watch. That's the one issue. But with that, before we get into all that, I want to say thank you for joining us here. Twitch.tv/PWU Unlimited, YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and podcast services all around the globe, like Twitter, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and wow, my mind just went blank. Anyways, or if you are watching live on Twitch, you can help us out a couple of different ways, either by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat to get your comment, question, or concern read live on the air. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and you always get one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Also, remember to help us out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. That way you know when we post new videos. That way you know when we go live. And that way you know when we post to the community tab. Also, if you want to subscribe and support us in another way, you can hit the join button and become a channel member. As a channel member, you can help us out, even if it's just at the $1 tier. We highly greatly appreciate that, whether that is here on YouTube or patreon.com/PW Unlimited. And then also remember that if you want to get your comment, question, or concern read live on YouTube, you can do so by donating a super chat in the live chat. And finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, whether you're claiming a free game or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, or Fall Guys, use this code right here, PW Unlimited. You can be supporting us at no extra cost. Maybe you're getting EA Sports FC25. Or maybe you're getting those new incredible skins for Fortnite. Use this code right here, PWU NLIMITED, for all Epic Games and Epic Game Store purchases. But with all of that, we got NXT to talk about from Chicago, Illinois. And the show itself comes on the air, and the first thing we hear is Sexy Boy. Shawn Michaels makes his way out and grabs a microphone. HBK has got a podium behind him, and we go, oh, new belts, new logo, new titles. Hell yeah. So Shawn reveals, he goes, can't have a new home and not have new championship belts. So he reveals two new championships, a new NXT championship and a new NXT Women's Championship. Now, I got the question tonight. What about the tag titles? What about the North American titles? No clue. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to reveal a new North American title till the North American title match next week. I'm not sure. So we'll see if we get new belts in that regard, but we don't know as of right now. What do you think of the new NXT titles as I pull an image of it up on the screen here.
You might have to pull the image up because I need a refresher of what they look like again.
All right, I'm getting them up right here. Give me 2 seconds. Honestly, I saw them, and at first I'm like, those are they look like the speed belts. I thought
Kind of. They look very plain.
But let me. So we've got this image here. You can see on your screen. And I'm trying to find. I'd have to.
They look like the UFC belts almost.
I could see it a little bit. Let me see something really fast. I don't have screenshots. I should have got the screenshots of when. Oh, I got better images here because they've got them up for sale already. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. We're going to go WWE shop. Okay, you can already buy them. So let's do this then.
The blue IC title is up for sale as well.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's do this.
Honestly, that blue IC title looks a lot like the 2000s IC title.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. So here's the new NXT Women's Championship. So we do have better looks of it here. Now looking at it like this, like the first shot we had where you said looks like UFC belts, totally from that angle it did. Now looking at them here, not so much. Doesn't quite look like the speed belt either. I do like them. Again, yes, they are simple. And then we got the men's belt, which is the exact same belt, but doesn't say woman's and is on a black strap. Regardless, I like them. Again, simple. Doesn't need to be anything over the top or whatnot.
It's not bad. It's just I don't know. It's nothing like oh, that's a fantastic belt. It's just there almost. Like, oh, new design, like almost like that.
Right. And I mean, for NXT, I guess the simplicity works. I mean, for me, it does at least.
I mean, for NXT, a belt doesn't really need to be like over the top.
Yeah, because you don't need, and let me see. Like this one, this is the old belt. This is the Braun Breaker signed one. That's the old belt where they had, it's 2.0 with all the colors, so we have to add all the colors to it. Do we have the other? No, these are all. See, there's the North American belt. But anyways, yeah, no, I like it. I think it looks good. I think it's not bad at all. So Shawn Michaels did reveal these titles, and let's.
Hopefully they keep the North American title design.
I mean, like I said, I think if they are going to switch it, they aren't going to wait till next week because that title's on the line. You know what I mean? So
the North American title design?
Yeah, I think if they're going to change it,
hopefully they keep it. That's a great design.
Oh yeah, no, I like it too. I don't want them to change it either. But I'm saying is, if they were to change it, I would understand why waiting a week, and you do it when the North American title's on the line, so then you can give that winner the new belt, regardless.
Well, I liked it. I mean, North American title. I mean, that's a little tricky though. Like, it's like how do you change the design
for the North American?
Yeah, it's a little tricky.
I mean, let me look at the. Oh, easily. Well,
Yeah, because when they first announced the belt, I was like, "Geez, like what's this design gonna look like?"
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe do it on not a round middle plate, and you do the middle plate like a different shape or something. I can see that. Changing up the shape of the middle plate to give it a different feel, which would then also change the shape of the leather behind the strap. So we'll see.
I saw this. I think this is like a fan made design. This actually looks pretty cool. I can send it to you.
Yeah, send it over. Switch here. All right, pulling up your message here.
I sent it to you on Discord, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, then hold on. I'm going to have to do this for a second. Gonna mess everything else up. Oh, I think I've seen this before. I like this though. All right, hold on.
It looks very cool.
I'm gonna cover Luke's face for a second. That's the one Luke just sent me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's fan made. Oh, yeah, that's made in 2K. Now that I'm looking at it, yeah, that's made in 2K. Not bad. I think it's a little busy. Like there's a little too much going on for me. I don't know if I like the American flag and the Canadian flag on it. And then where's Mexico? Mexico's part of North America.
I think it's like on the top, but you can't really see it.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's not really visible though.
Like when I first look at it, I'm like, oh, I like the shape and everything and this and that. But then the more I look at it, I'm just like, there's too much going on. It's too busy. All right, let's pop Luke back on here now. But so Shawn Michaels comes out and he introduces the new belts. And then he says, "We've got a line for you," or something like that. I didn't write it down exactly. But he says, "Oh, I got one question for you." And I'm like, oh, he's going to say, "Are you ready?" Well, he didn't say, "Are you ready?" He brought out his buddy, old Triple H. Triple H comes out of nowhere. Like literally came out of nowhere. Walks in the ring. The two embrace. And Triple H says, "Are you ready?" And they kick off the first episode of NXT on the CW. The NXT Women's Championship on the line. Roxanne Perez versus Julia. This is a really good match. These two worked very good together. So they quickly exchanged near falls early on. They wrestled to a stalemate. And we went to a commercial break pretty quickly in. Like last night on Raw, we were going to a break like 90 minutes into matches. I think kind of did the same thing here. Or 90 seconds, I mean. So at one point in the match after the break, the crowd comes alive after Julia hits a series of headbutts. The action intensifies, and the crowd explodes in NXT chants. NXT, NXT, NXT. Perez sails through the ropes with the top ropes to a seat at one point, and Julia answers back with a super Northern Lights suplex into a bridge. There's some chain wrestling that ensued here, and both countered their way into crossfaces. They kept trading near falls as well. At one point, Perez hit the pop rocks, but Julia rolled to the outside to avoid getting pinned. On the floor, Julia gave Perez a Northern Lights suplex. They teased a double countout spot at one point, and both barely rolled back in to break the count. Perez then jumped back out of the ring, grabbed the belt, and the referee was distracted here trying to get the belt from her and get it away when a woman runs down in a black hoodie. And my first thought was Stephanie Vacure, because body-wise, like all we saw was the shape of the body. Couldn't see the face or really the head and what. Body-wise, kind of looked like Stephanie Vacure. This lady grabs Julia, hits her with a double-arm DDT on the floor, throws her back in the ring. Perez then executes another pop rocks and pins her 1, 2, 3 to retain the NXT Women's Championship. As Roxanne is celebrating, the mystery woman pulls off the hood and reveals that it's none other than a returning Cora Jade. Which the interesting thing about this, Roxanne just did an interview either today or tomorrow, or yesterday, I mean. It was either yesterday or today, saying, oh yeah, Cora's about a month away from possibly being able to return. So, Roxanne trying to swerve everybody into thinking, Cora ain't coming back right now. Cora's not. So, that right there, at first when I was just like, it's got to be Stephanie Vacure, right? My mind was nowhere near thinking Cora Jade because Roxanne's out here in an interview saying Cora's not even ready. Well, Cora Jade. What do you think of the match and Cora Jade returning to help her afterwards?
I thought the match was really good. I thought both women worked very, very well. I mean, I feel like fans are kind of getting a little too upset about Julia losing.
Yeah, we have a comment here on Twitch about it too. I wouldn't call this Julia jobbing because not to cut you off, but the comment here from Terry says Julia jobbing to get Cora over was a mistake. My disbelief was not suspended at all. Well, that's not what we're supposed to. She did not job to get Cora Jade over. That's not what this was at all. Honestly, I wouldn't have cared either way if Julia won or lost. If Julia won, cool. She's the new NXT Women's Champion. I kind of like it better that she lost because now it's not just her coming in right off the jump and just getting the belt. Now she's got a story. Now she's got something to fight for. Now she's got someone to get revenge on to get then back to Roxanne and eventually win that belt. That's my thought process. I actually like it better that she didn't win, if I'm going to be completely honest.
I mean, yeah. I would think it's kind of cool to see Roxanne and Cora Jade as like a heel team.
Well, we'll also let's fast forward a little bit then, because they had a quick little embrace backstage. Let me get to that spot in my notes. Who the hell is? Oh, so we're backstage and Cora Jade's walking through the back. And the cameras come up on her and they're like, Cora, how are you back? And this and that. And how are you feeling? And Roxanne walks up and she basically just says, like, hey, thanks for the help or whatever. And Cora's like, I like the new you that you're becoming. And then Roxanne says something about like common enemies can bring them together or something like that. So we may be getting them together once again, both now as heels.
Well, I think I read somewhere before, like when Cora Jade got hurt, the rumor was they're going to put her and Roxanne together as like a heel group. But then that didn't happen because Cora got hurt.
So I read the same thing, and I had heard that they wanted them to kind of be what was Mandy Rose's old group called?
Toxic Attraction.
With Toxic Attraction and now Fatal Influences, like the Mean Girls kind of thing. Like they wanted to bring them together and make them kind of like Mean Girls. But it's like, well, now we kind of have that with Toxic Attraction. So I don't know.
You mean Fatal Influence?
That's what I mean. Fatal Influence. All these goddamn names. It's like when you watch
Fatal Influence.
Go for it.
Fatal Influence, that's basically the new Toxic Attraction.
Yeah. No, it's like on Monday Night Raw when I always mix up Braun Strowman, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. It's like maybe Vince was right in some aspects of we can't have everybody with similar names. But that was Vince's whole thing. We don't need multiple people with similar names. Because you've heard me
similar gimmicks.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you've heard me do it before, where we're talking about like Braun Strowman and accidentally say Braun Breaker, or we're talking Bronson Reed and accidentally say Braun Strowman or something. Bronson, and Braun.
Yeah.
Bronson, and Braun. Anyways, good opening match. I really enjoyed it. We then see the arrival of CM Punk. He's like, CM Punk didn't have to travel far tonight. He lives here in Chicago. And I'm like, actually, Punk did have to travel far today because he had to come from Evansville, Indiana, where Raw was last night. So he actually did have to travel far. He didn't get to just pop out of bed. Then we got a kind of a dumb segment, if I'm going to be. This is the one thing that I really didn't like. The Axiom Nathan Frazier segment. Really going to use this to further tease that these two are going to break up? So, the NXT Tag Team Champions, as some like to call them, Fraxium, are playing 2K. And they end up having, in the game, miscommunication that leads them to losing their NXT Tag Team titles. To, what's up?
Wait, who are they losing to in that game?
A-Town Down, who they're defending against next week.
Oh.
Or A-Town Down Under, I mean.
Oh, I already know what's going to happen.
So let me get through this segment, then we'll get your thing here. So really quick, Axiom. So Frazier gets all mad. Axiom tries to tell him, keep your temper in check, both in the game and in real life. Then this gets all kind of goofy, and Frazier runs away all pissed off. Then he comes back and is kind of just like, hey, I shouldn't have acted like that and this and that. And Axiom is wearing his mask, keep in mind. And then they're like, it's all good. We're just going to get on the same page. And they keep playing the game. But what was your thought?
I think Fraxium, they end up retaining. But at the end of the match, while they're like celebrating, Motor City Machine Guns come out.
So there was the rumor that they could have debuted tonight. But next week, I could see it. It would make more sense.
It makes more sense next week. Next week.
Makes more sense for next week. So we got CM Punk backstage with NXT General Manager Ava. And they're talking about the title match later on. Punk reassures her, I'm going to call it down the middle. I'm going to make sure there's a definitive winner. No ifs, ands, buts about it. And then up comes Lexis King, of all people. Ava gets one look at him and is like, yep, I got to go. I ain't dealing with your ass. And he asks Punk for some advice. And then Punk... So the gimmick of Lexis King is he hates his biological father for never being around and then dying when he was really young. And he feels like his stepfather...
Did they mention that?
Huh?
Did they mention that in the Vince documentary when they were talking about like wrestlers dying young? Did they mention...
They did not bring up Brian Pillman.
That's very interesting, actually.
So... Lexis King here, his whole gimmick is he doesn't like his biological father. He feels like his father was never there for him, this and that. And his stepfather was the one that was there for him. Hence why he's taken the last name King. Lexis is, of course, his sister Alexis. Anyways. And so he's asking Punk for advice and this and that. And Punk basically tells him, sometimes we've got to take a hard look and know that maybe we are the same people who we come from. So I don't know if they're like, maybe there's going to be a change here with Lexis King, because it's almost seemed like a babyface kind of thing. Not like a babyface turn, but he came off like a babyface asking another babyface veteran for advice. And then Punk telling him, hey, look in you and who you come from. And maybe that is who you are and should be. At least that's how I interpreted this segment. So
do you think this might be a tease? He might go back to Brian Pillman?
I don't think they changed the name, no. But I think maybe this is the first step in like, not a full-on gimmick change, but a little bit of like a shift in how he's been acting on television. Also, Elite Tish says they weren't going to shit on Vince, but wasn't a puff piece. Oh, they shit on Vince in that documentary, trust me.
Oh, yeah, trust me, they did. If you didn't watch that documentary, go watch it.
It means you didn't watch all 6 episodes, especially the Shane stuff. They really like made Vince look like a bad dad. Vince himself made him look like a bad dad when he said, yeah, I pitched that I'd be the father of Stephanie's child.
I pitched an idea that I impregnated Stephanie.
Yeah, basically. Anyways.
And Stephanie had to hurry up and say no. Then I said, well, what about Shane?
Oh, yeah, no. The rumor has always been, and we talked about this last night, the rumor has always been Stephanie could not have said no to that faster.
She didn't want to say in the documentary, but...
So moving forward, we got a recap of the history between Wesley and Zachary Wentz ahead of their street fight tonight. Live in the building, Lee makes his entrance, pushing a shopping cart full of weapons, and we go to a commercial break. We come back, and Jada Parker and Lola Vice are in the back warming up. And interestingly, so there's been a big thing on social media of they don't tell you who all these different people are in NXT, and they don't like put the graphic on the screen to say that's Lola Vice and that's Jada Parker. And for some reason, like for the last couple of weeks, it's like they've been going out of their way to not call Lola Vice by name in backstage segments. So it was a refreshing thing to see when the graphic on the screen said Lola Vice, Jada Parker, and Jada was like, hey, Lola. And then Kalani Jordan comes up and it says NXT Women's Champion, Kalani Jordan. So I think that's a great thing that, hey, they're learning from their past mistakes. Tell us who these people are, especially if we don't watch NXT every week and don't know who all these new random people you're throwing on the show every week are. But anyways, they're warming up for their tag match later tonight. In comes Kalani Jordan, and she's just trying to, convince them you got to work together. I know you guys don't like each other, but you're teaming together. You got to work together. Get on the same page. Parker and Vice kind of storm off. And Jordan's like, oh, dang it. Then we got the street fight with Wesley and Zachary Wentz. And boy, I hope Zachary Wentz is okay, because he missed that goddamn table. And that table spot where he springboarded himself off the top rope to the floor and overshot the table, that looked like it hurt. That looked like it hurt big time. So, early on, Lee attacks Wentz in the aisle before the bell even rings and the fight's going. Remember, it's a street fight, so you can start this match wherever. They brawl at ringside. Weapons soon come into play. Wentz smashes Lee into the ring steps with a shopping cart, chairs, kendo sticks, and even a big piece of plywood was used early on. Just before the show cuts to a commercial break. And like I say cut because it just cut. Usually we do like a setup and we know they're going to a break. It just cut. It just cut to a break. Right before that, they both take a plunge through the plywood that was set up on some chairs at ringside. It's like they didn't have tables, but they had plywood and they made a table, which is kind of weird. Also, on the CW, no split screen. Usually we would get split screen for almost every commercial break on USA with NXT. No split screen on any of this show tonight. So that's one change that we got. That and no overrun. Because as soon as this show ended, boom, local here, Tulsa, we got news on the CW. So that's another thing. They can't do the overrun because just like with the issue they had with Fox and SmackDown, they go straight into news. So yeah, we return from the break, and we almost miss a coast to coast when this break comes back. We come back from the break, and Zachary Wentz is climbing to the top rope. We look, and freaking Wesley's sitting in the opposite corner with a trash can in his face. But he goes for the coast to coast, hits that Van Terminator, and smashes the trash can in Lee's face. If this show came back like a minute later from the break, 30 seconds later, we would have missed the coast to coast. So when I said this show felt like a PLE and they just randomly spewed in, what's it called? Excuse me, trying not to burp. Commercials. That's what this felt like, especially with this match. So, moments later, Lee takes a face first bump on the chair. Wentz then hit Lee and repeated shots with kendo stick. There's a trash can on the head of Lee, and then he smacked it with the kendo stick. Wentz delivered a senton bomb on Lee with the trash can still on his head. This was then starting to get a little brutal. Not like overly brutal or anything, but, they started beating the crap out of each other at one point. And it would quickly get even worse when Wentz goes for a springboard. Lee shoves him off the top rope, and Wentz was supposed to go through a table, overshoots it, and his elbow and like top side of his arm. What is this? What is this part of your arm called? My mind is blanking right now.
What?
What's this part of your arm?
The wrist?
Well, the wrist to your elbow. There's a name for that bone. There's a name for that part. Anyways, from the elbow up, it just smacks the table because freaking Wentz misses the table, overshoots it. And when I say overshoots it, he was halfway up the ramp. That's how far this guy jumped. That was one of them goddamn, what's it called? Walking Wild jumps.
The ulna?
Forearm. Thank you, Fonzie. Forearm is what I'm thinking of. Anyways.
Never mind. I just Googled it and it said the ulna is the longer of the two bones in your forearm.
Interesting. Well, the forearm. That's what I'm trying to get at. Forearm. Anyways. So he takes this nasty bump on the floor. And that wasn't even the worst of the nasty bumps. There's more brutal near falls. Lee wraps a chain around his hand and he pummels Wentz with it. Wentz is seated in a chair as Lee gets on the middle rope. Lee then wraps a chain around his knee and jumps off and hits Wentz seated in the chair with it. The chair beneath him craters from the Meteora, and then Lee pins him 1, 2, 3 to pick up the win. So it's like, great match. I will say that. These two, phenomenal match. They always say best friends or super close friends will hit each other harder than you're going to hit another opponent in pro wrestling because you're not afraid to accidentally hurt your bud. And these two are legit best friends. They're as close as brothers. So they were not afraid to accidentally crack the other and hurt the other. But again, the NXT wrestler beats the TNA wrestler. What do you think of the match itself?
Match is really good. Kind of surprised Wesley won, but I get why he did.
Who won it?
I kind of feel like...
Okay, so they're 1-1 because Zachary Wentz won at No Mercy. Now, Wesley won tonight. They're 1-1. You do the rubber match in TNA? Maybe
Bound for Glory?
I was just about to say that. Bound for Glory. That'd be a cool one.
Wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, no. I'd like that a lot. Which, if everything works out schedule-wise, I should be doing a live review of Bound for Glory. Because I like to do the bigger TNA shows. I don't follow TNA weekly, so when I review those shows, half the time I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm more just reviewing the matches themselves. But I do like to do like Slammiversary and Bound for Glory and stuff like that. Hard to Kill. Like those are the three big ones.
I think Joe Hendry ends up winning the TNA World title at Bound for Glory.
100%.
He has to.
100%.
If he doesn't, he screwed up.
Beat the old Nick Nemeth. So yeah, great match. Loved it. Thought, everything was great other than missing the table spot. Then we had Miz TV. And boy, did this crowd watch Raw last night because they saw Miz turn heel and they treated him like a heel. And Miz played it off perfectly. He loved getting booed. You could tell. They booed the shit out of Miz and he loved it. The Miz comes out for Miz TV and he tries to do his thing. Welcome to the most must-see TV show in all of WWE. Miz. And the crowd's supposed to go TV and they boo instead. And he goes, anyways, love to see it. Love to see it. Miz loves being a heel and he's better at being a heel. So give me heel Miz all day. So Obafemi comes in, and Obafemi, in my opinion, I think should be a future WWE or World Heavyweight Champion. This man he's got the it factor. He's got the look. He's it. Now, granted, how tall is Obafemi? Because they try to make him seem like he's this big monster guy. Obafemi height. 6'4". He's about the same height.
I almost said 6'3".
So he's about Randy Orton height. Because how tall is Tony D'Angelo?
I mean, I'm 6'3" with shoes on.
Tony D'Angelo's 6 foot, and he doesn't look much shorter. Like when they went face to face towards the end of this segment, he didn't look much shorter than Obafemi. So Miz brings both men out. He brings out the Don. He brings out the NXT North American champion. But again, Obafemi, he gives me that this is going to be the guy one day vibes. He's got it. So the Don is first to answer a question, and he gets what treatment from the crowd here in Chicago. And the crowd at one point kind of turns on D'Angelo, saying that, when he says, or they turn in favor of him. Because at first they weren't for him. They were for Obafemi. Then when he went, I grew up about 20 minutes down the road from this building here in the streets of Chicago. And the crowd starts to chant for him. Obafemi says, D'Angelo will never be North American champion. And Tony D basically was like, I got family in the crowd, family backstage, and friends here by my side that are like family. And they've all, helped me realize I'm better than I think I am. And I know that I can beat you. And Obafemi again's like, no, you can't. You cannot take this title from me next week. We both get up out of their chairs and they go face to face. And Miz is doing his thing where he's just like, okay, where's this going? I'm interested. I like this. Miz is just like eating it up. And then eventually Miz, eventually they get in each other's face. D'Angelo says that Femi is just a man and nothing more than that. And Femi goes, no, I am not. I am inevitable. And you are a broken man. Miz then goes, well, that's it for the face-off. Next week, it will be the North American Championship on the line. It'll be the Don. It'll be, or he just says, Oba defending the title against Tony D'Angelo. And it will be awesome. Interesting that he just called him Oba. He didn't call him Obafemi, but he called Tony D'Angelo by his full name. Yeah. I mean, this was nothing special. But it did get me a little more hyped up for the title match next week than I already was. Like, I was a little, cool. I was just like, cool. I'll see a rematch. They had a good match back at the pay-per-view. But this segment actually did a little more for me where I'm like, maybe Tony can win that belt. And then you put Obafemi on the main roster. Make him the new Omos because they did nothing with Omos. Any thoughts? I know you said you missed this segment.
I think Tony D'Angelo beats Obafemi next week.
So yeah, so do I. We get that Rocky moment.
Yeah, because they're basically playing it like Tony, I'm like, he's afraid.
Yep.
And like he has to like do the whole rock. It's basically what they did with Sami Zayn to beat Gunther.
Kinda. Well, Zammy was more Rocky 1. This is Rocky 3.
Yeah.
So we already talked about the little thing backstage of Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. And then we go to our tag match. It's Lola Vice and Jada Parker against 2 members of Fatal Influence, but they didn't tell us who ahead of time. We learned that it is JC Jane and Fallon Henley. So, not a horrible match. Like, this match was there. It was okay. I wouldn't call it great or anything. Probably the weakest match on the show, of course. But Kalani Jordan, the NXT Women's Champion, was at ringside as well. And Booker was like, hey, Kalani, Fatal Influence say you keep ducking them. What's that all about? She goes, hey, I ain't ducking nobody. I'm out here right now, aren't I? And Booker goes, you ain't in that ring. You ain't in the squared circle with them, so what's that? I'm like, damn, Booker trying to be confrontational. And then they kind of like start bickering about NIL athletes for a moment. I'm like, what? We got a tag match going on. So the match starts and not much happens before the commercial break. We come back and Parker and Vice are actually arguing. Fallon Henley gets the advantage here on Parker. Vice at one point tags in and is trapped in a body scissors. We get clips from during the break that show that Vice got rammed into the ring post. The heels work over Lola Vice. They double clothesline her, and then there was a double down spot as well. Vice was about to make the hot tag to Parker when Jasmine Nix would distract her. Henley then sent Vice colliding into Parker. This then upset Parker, and she kind of just walked out of the match. There was one point I didn't write down in my notes where they just kept tagging themselves in and slapping each other when they were, I think they had JC Jane in the corner. And they kept just like, one would do a move or a kick, and then they tagged themselves in. And then one would do a move, and then they started arguing about that. So I don't know. This match was all right. So Vice left. Vice was left all alone with Fatal Influence, and Vice actually fires up. She's trying to make her own comeback when Vice is cut off by another roaring elbow from JC Jane. Her and then Henley deliver stereo knee strikes on Vice, and Henley covers Lola Vice to pick up the win. So, yeah. Not much to it. Not a big fan of the match, because the story was just, these 2 women are teaming together. They don't like these other women. They don't like each other. And then one walks out on the, I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of walking out on your opponent like this, especially since we just saw last night on Raw with The Miz walking out on Truth. But what do you think of the match before I get to the post-match little promo thing?
I mean, it was okay. Nothing special.
So, match ends, and Fatal Influence cut a promo. They said their win is a statement. Fallon Henley says, I got my sights on you, Kalani, and that North American Championship. They call Kalani Jordan to the ring, and Jordan gets in the ring. She goes, hey, just so you know, I didn't come here tonight alone. And out comes the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Full entrance and everything. And they get in the ring, and they confront Fatal Influence. Now, we knew Jade and Bianca were going to be on this show, but when we got this far in the show, I totally forgot they were supposed to be on the show. Because I'm like, well, they haven't. Because like at the beginning of the show, I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do with Jade and Bianca. And when we get an hour and a half in and they haven't used them, my mind just totally forgot that they were supposed to be on this. Because WWE's preview on their website had the graphic, Tag Team Champions appear live. So this is the one kind of deal that I don't like in wrestling. When you announce somebody for a segment and then they get brought out as surprises. Like, what? So what were they originally supposed to? I don't know. Anyways, they all start brawling. Tag champs, clear house, and all 3 baby faces stand tall. Cool. We get a sponsored video hyping up Randy Orton versus Javon Evans next week on NXT. That match.
Do you think that's the main event?
I'm trying to think what else is on this show.
Oba versus Tony D'Angelo.
So if Tony D is winning the belt, that's going to be the main event, I think. If not, then I think you open with them. I think they open with the tag title match, actually. No. Fuck. I don't know. Because there's a couple of things where it's like, if this is going to happen, it should main event. Like, if Tony D's winning the belt, that should be the main event. If Motor City Machine Guns are debuting next week, maybe the tag title match should be the main event. So the last thing we see on the show are the Machine Guns coming in to challenge the champions. But at the same time,
I think that should open.
Probably, I think.
I think that should open. Maybe you do a segment backstage like Motor City Machine Guns, like welcome to NXT.
Well, no. I would have Motor City Machine Guns in front of that crowd. I would not do a backstage segment for their debut.
Later. That's what I meant, later.
But the big thing is, it's St. Louis adjacent, I guess you would say, and it's Randy Orton. So it's like, maybe it does main event. So now thinking about it, tag match should open the show, and then it's going to either be the NXT North America title match or this Randy Orton Javon Evans match.
I mean, the Randy Orton Javon Evans match, Randy Orton's obviously winning.
I can see that. Yeah,
then,
I can see that.
Maybe at the end they do like a sign of respect for Javon Evans.
Oh, for sure, Randy's going to beat him and then raise his hand. For sure. But, yeah, I don't know what main events. That's a tough one. So, we get another.
How do you feel? How do you actually feel about Javon Evans, like, so far?
So I like him. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. Most people don't realize he's been doing this for way longer than anybody realize. Like, everyone thinks, oh, it's some kid that's been around for like a year or two and then NXT signed him. No. Javon Evans has been around for like 5 or 6 years. And he's really good. Character-wise, I don't know. I feel like his character is, I'm a fanboy. I grew up watching wrestling. Now I'm in NXT and get to see all these cool wrestlers. Character-wise, I think there's still room there. As a wrestler, I think he's freaking fantastic. And I think he is. I think he is perfect for the NXT system as far as being there, learning, growing, and getting better. He is exactly what NXT is for.
I do feel like his promo work could use a little more work.
Yes. And that's mainly because before coming to NXT, he really wasn't cutting many promos.
Yeah, like I think his in-ring work is great.
Yes.
But I just feel like gimmick-wise, he needs more like character development. A lot more.
I mean, I said the same thing about Roxanne Perez when she first came in. She's a former Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Like
that's kind of Roxanne was. Like she was a kid. Like she was like I'm this WWE fan girl. Now I'm surrounded by all these NXT wrestlers.
Right. So we get another hype video just giving us the backstory of the main event. CM Punk then gets a full entrance and a big pop from his hometown crowd in Chicago as he enters for his role as the referee in the main event. No sleeves. No sleeves. And as last week, where we got the tease of Stephanie Vicur is coming, we now know that Delta is coming. But they didn't give her a name. They didn't say Delta or anything like that. Just a video of a woman who is coming. And
I didn't see that, actually. I did not see that.
Yeah, it's Delta. She's coming. And we don't know when. Then we got the main event. Ethan Page defending the NXT Championship against Trick Williams with CM Punk as the referee. This match was awesome. I thought this was a great main event. And the right guy won. The right man won.
I think it was pretty obvious that Trick was winning. Or Trick was winning, actually.
So, yeah. But also, many people thought it was obvious that Julia was going to win in the opener. And that didn't happen. So when that didn't happen, I'm like, all right, they're not going to do 2 non-title changes. So I'm pretty sure Trick's winning this belt because they're not going to not change both belts. I thought, going in, honestly, I thought we were getting 2 title changes. So Page tries to cheat early on. He backs Trick into the corner. Punk starts counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Before he says 5, he pulls him out of the corner. Same thing with Trick. Trick puts Page in the corner. He's holding there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Punk pulls him out of the corner. He's like, hey, I did it for him. I did it for you. I'm calling it down the middle. He's literally. And so they start trading roll-ups and whatnot. There's a 1 for Trick. Page goes to go for a pin. He gets his feet up on the ropes. Punk counts 1, looks over, and he just stops counting. And eventually the Page looks over. He's like, what? And Page's like, Punk's like, your feet are on the ropes. I ain't counting that. And so Trick doesn't even try to kick out and waste any energy because he knows he heard Punk. So he's like, oh, just get off of me. Get off of me, Page. And so the two start going at it, and Trick starts to look a little stronger than Ethan Page here until they crash through a gimmicked section of the barricade. Barricade falls at the timekeeper's area, and the show got to a commercial break with Ethan Page in control. As we come back from the break, Trick makes the comeback, and Trick is a house of fire at this point. The crowd is alive for Trick Williams, going nuts and wild for Trick. Page then counters Trick at ringside, leading to Page giving Trick a razor's edge, or ego's edge, I mean, on the announce table. Oh boy, did he barely get Trick up. He almost dropped him. He goes to pull Trick up for that ego's edge, and he kind of like fumbles him a little, and he herks him up like he uses his entire strength to get him up there. Crashes him through the announce table. Great spot. The desk collapsed with Trick in a heap. Punk then goes to check on Trick, and Punk basically refuses to administer a count out, though. And he's like, no, I said definitive winner. So basically, we ain't doing this count out bullshit. You're not retaining the belt this way, is what Trick, or what Punk said. So eventually Trick gets in the ring, and they're trading near falls and this and that, and Trick gets a couple more than Ethan Page. Trick misses a trick shot, and Page gets a near fall off of it. Page then executes a GTS and goes for the pin, staring Punk right in the eyes like, I just used your move, bud. Why do I feel like, especially with the post-match, we're getting Trick or Ethan Page and CM Punk? Why does it feel like we're getting that match?
I feel like that'd be a main roster match once Ethan Page goes to the main roster.
So Trick kicks out. Like, Punk counts because he's going to count. He's not going to, he only gets a 2 off of it. Trick kicks out. Page then goes for another razor's edge, ego's edge, but Trick slips out of it. Trick then falls into the arms of Punk, who just puts him down. I thought that was funny as hell. He catches him and just puts him down. I can't help you. Puts him in the corner. Page then misses a charge, and he is hit with a trick shot. Trick then goes for the cover. Punk does not do a fast count, no nothing, just regular 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now, maybe some can argue that his count was a little fast. I could see that argument, which could then lead more to an Ethan Page CM Punk match, because Ethan Page, like, Punk gives Trick the belt, and Page immediately starts arguing with Punk. He shoves Punk, gets in Punk's face, so Punk kicks him, grabs him, puts him on his shoulder, and gives him a GTS. Ethan Page, that is, and then goes and celebrates with Trick. So, very, very interesting. Great main event. What'd you think?
I thought the main event was pretty good. I did not see well, I know towards the end my screen kept like buffering, so I didn't really see the GTS. All I saw was the celebration.
Yeah, so they're celebrating. Punk gives Trick the belt. The confetti goes off, and we get a wide shot. And then this wide shot, you see over here on the side of the ring, Page is yelling at Punk, and he shoves him. So Punk shoves him back. Page then gets into his face, and that's when they kind of go at it for a second. Punk picks him up, hits him with the GTS, and Ethan Page is just laying there, knocked out. So there we go. And that's how the show goes off the air. Overall, a very, very good debut on the CW. It looked great. Of course, it's not in the PC, so it's going to look great. It's going to look like a PLE, a main roster show, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, overall, I thought this was... I don't think there was much they could have done to have a better first show on the CW.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, we had a bunch of good matches. We had, you're never going to have every match be perfect, especially on a weekly show when you're building up storylines and stuff. So like the tag match with the women, that was more a story-driven match than we got to have a really good match. And that was more about the two women not getting along and then the Fatal Influence, Kalani Jordan stuff. So it's like, I get why that match wasn't all that great because it was more about the storytelling and the feuds building from that. So overall, I thought the show was 2 thumbs up. Very, very positive. And if you are watching on Twitch, we do have a poll going live right now. Didn't take it. With that, go check out that poll. If you're watching on Twitch, go vote. Let me know what you thought as we go and check the other polls. So let's refresh these polls here. So as far as, the Threads poll never went. Yeah, the Threads poll never went. I was having issues with Threads. So I never got a Threads poll out. As far as the Twitter X poll does go. Oh, yeah, and then after the show, everyone went outside, all the fans, that is, and we talked about this earlier. They got free pizza from CM Punk. As far as the Twitter X poll does go, 80% liked the show, 17% thought it was just all right, and 2% didn't like it. Looking at the YouTube community poll, 82% liked the show, 13% thought it was just all right, and 5% didn't like it. Some of the comments here. I like on tonight's show with new titles. Congratulations to Trick Williams again and Roxanne. And my girl is returned is Cora Jade. Her says, I loved it. Her says, I was expecting to see Motor City Machine Guns tonight, but didn't happen. As we spoke about, next week would make more sense with the tag title match. This person says, amazing. I loved it. This person says, can't get it now. I understand. A lot of people don't get CW. And yeah, didn't watch it. And this person said, well, then, yeah. So according to WrestleNomics, they said the homes that get USA compared to the homes that should get CW, it's like an 18 million home increase. So we'll see. But here's the issue. So here's another issue with people, and I forgot to mention this one earlier. So say you live in an area that does get, like, I'm going to give where I grew up as an example. So I grew up about 30 minutes south of Yosemite National Park, the mountains of California, like the most non-California place of California. And we would have to get all of our television from Fresno, which was 45 minutes away. When I was, in the early 90s, we didn't have cable up there. You could buy a satellite dish, DirecTV, Dish Network, whatnot. But for a while, we just had an antenna on our TV. And so we would get ABC, we would get Fox and stuff, but not always would it come in well. So that's another issue of people that, their area may have CW, but if you got to use rabbit ears, old school rabbit ears, it may not even come in good because most areas, your CW is going to be your weaker channel as far as like the signal that is broadcasting. So if you do get your Fox or your ABC or your NBC or CBS, cool. But your CW may not come in as clear, like back in the day where I grew up. All those, the big four, we always got them, no problem. But I was always having issues when I'm trying to watch old Reba and What I Like About You and Smallville on the CW. When I'm trying to watch SmackDown on UPN, I had to move them bunny ears 5 times throughout a show to try and get the signal to come in. So that's another issue of people trying to get the CW if you don't have cable. You just got the rabbit ears. So anyways, as far as the live poll does go, 81% liked the show, 11% thought it was just all right, and 9% didn't like it. And finally, everybody that voted on Twitch liked the show. M. Quake says, remember WB Network? Well, that's what CW is. CW is the merger of UPN and WB. That is why SmackDown used to be on CW. When it was on UPN, UPN and WB merged, and SmackDown went to the CW for a couple years. So, yeah. No, I watched CW a lot back in the day. Freaking Reba, What I Like About You, Smallville. Heck, I'd watch Gilmore Girls at times. But with that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining us here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. But Luke, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me over at Twitter X at Petke_21. And you can also find me over at Twitch at Young Grasshopper Luke.
With that, guys, have a great rest of your night. We'll be back live tomorrow for AEW Dynamite 5th anniversary show. Tony Khan teasing some big news. The rumor is they may announce the new TV deal tomorrow. So if that gets announced, we'll be talking all about that. Plus, we got title matches and all kinds of stuff for tomorrow. 4 things announced for tomorrow's 5th anniversary of Dynamite show. So we'll see you guys back here tomorrow for that. Have a good one, guys.